Imagine a world where a billionaire buys a woman for $50 million just because she looks like his late wife. Welcome to Dark Voices, where we uncover the most shocking stories. A billionaire bought a young woman for $50 million because she looked exactly like his deceased wife. People whispered that she would become the billionaire's replacement wife. "Gosh, I wish someone would buy me," Nicole muttered. She was seated next to Angela in the back area of a private, exclusive club, hidden from the public, accessible only to wealthy individuals with underground connections. Angela turned her head toward Nicole. In Nicole's eyes, there was a clear hope that she would be one of those chosen this evening. She had signed up for the bidding, longing to escape this line of work and help her family. Everyone there understood that what they were doing was illegal, yet they willingly participated for the sake of the people they loved. They had learned from a coworker, who had been bid on the previous week, that her life had changed for the better after her buyer took her away. Since then, Nicole had become more determined to enter the bidding, thinking it could be her chance for a lucky break. What dark secrets lurk in this shadowy world of wealth and power? Stay tuned with Dark Voices to find out. Angela glanced around the club. It was a hidden spot where only the rich and powerful could enter with the right connections. Every week, they held a special event to auction off young women who worked there. No one was forced. Anyone who stepped onto that stage had signed herself up. The reason was simple: if a bidder chose them, whatever money got offered would be split so that the woman would receive 25%. Nicole turned to Angela. "So, what's your reason for joining the auction tonight?" she asked. "Madame Lucy tried convincing you many times before, but this is the first time you agreed." Angela bit her lower lip. "My mom got sick, and we also have a lot of debts. This is the only solution I could think of," she answered. Nicole let out a sigh. "I hope we end up like Paula. Remember her? She was so terrified when it was her turn, but her buyer turned out to be really generous. Apparently, she's being treated like a queen now." Angela kept quiet. She didn't really care what happened to her afterward. From the start, she knew exactly what she was getting into. All that mattered was paying back the person most important to her, making sure her mother received the right treatment and was freed from debt. Angela had been working as a waitress in this club for 3 months, and tonight, she was taking the final, drastic step. She had signed up to be one of the women offered for auction. Suddenly, Madame Lucy burst into the room. "All right, ladies, it's about to start," she announced with a flourish. She was the one in charge of all the women in the club, a flamboyant and caring boss whom Angela respected. At Madame Lucy's words, Angela and the others stood up, dressed in revealing outfits sure to entice any wealthy buyer. Everyone felt nervous. It wasn't a secret that these wealthy men spent ridiculous amounts of money purely for pleasure. Most of them were already married but wanted a mistress for themselves. Madame Lucy sidled over to Angela and grinned. "At last, Angela, you finally agreed. I'm sure the men will fight over you because of your looks. Maybe I'll get richer overnight." Then Madame Lucy gave a boisterous laugh. "Last week's highest bid was $5 million, quite huge, actually. I bet you'll surpass that with no problem." Angela forced a small, uneasy smile and noticed how some of the other women shot daggers at her with their eyes. She let out a breath, choosing not to respond. The program began, and all the women waited backstage. Angela was the fifth to be showcased that night. From where they stood, they could hear the bids being called out for the first woman. The echo of men flaunting their wealth made Angela swallow hard. She lowered her gaze, silently praying she would end up with someone who wasn't cruel. She was ready to do whatever it took so her mother could get the treatment she needed and so all debts would be paid off. Angela was lost in thought when they announced that the fourth woman's bidding had ended. A bouncer signaled for Angela to step forward. Nervously, she walked onto the stage. Bright lights hit her, and for a moment, there was complete silence from the men. Reaching the center, Angela opened her eyes, looked out at the crowd, and gave them a tentative smile. She saw jaws drop. "All right," one of the organizers said, "our final lady for tonight is Miss Angela." An older man in the audience laughed. "Why show her last? I've already picked someone."
Madame Lucy laughed at his comment. Calm down, gentlemen.
Her name is Angela, and she's our last lady for tonight.
Let's start the bidding.
A man off to the side raised his hand. He was an older gentleman, leaning on a cane.
2 million for Miss Angela. Wow, 2 million right off the bat, Mr. Carter. Madame Lucy exclaimed.
2.5, came another voice from a slightly younger man whose bald head gleamed under the lights.
I'll offer 3 million, another man drawled, flashing a grin.
4 million, the older bidder shot back, clearly annoyed.
Madame Lucy almost choked on her breath. Oh, wow, 4 million. She seemed convinced that might be the highest bid.
5 million, barked the bald man, licking his lips with a triumphant expression.
I want that girl. It's obvious she's never been displayed before, so I'm taking her no matter what. Angela's hands began to tremble.
Her heart pounded at the thought of someone being willing to pay millions just to have her.
5 million for Miss Angela. Anyone else? Madame Lucy called out. She paused.
Going once, going 10 million, the older man spat out in a final act of defiance. He even threw his cigarette to the ground in irritation. Madame Lucy's eyes nearly popped out of her head.
Angela felt a rush of adrenaline.
If she got 10 million, her 25% cut would be enough to pay for her mother's hospital bills and all those debts that had been burdening them for so long.
10 million. Madame Lucy repeated, scanning the room. Any more bidders? Nobody else seemed to move.
Angela glanced at the bald man, who sat back down in defeat, quietly fuming. All right, then, Madame Lucy began to say, 10 million, 50 million, another voice rang out, slicing through the silence. Everyone froze, turning in the direction of that voice. The older bidder stared, unable to comprehend what he had just heard.
Angela's jaw dropped. 50 million for someone like her? She couldn't believe it. Madame Lucy spluttered, 50 million? Who said that?
She and everyone else craned their necks toward the far side of the room. A tall man, partially cloaked in the shadows, gave a low, sarcastic laugh. He stepped into a sliver of light, then locked eyes with Angela.
He did not glance away.
50 million, he repeated. He set his glass on the table and pointed in Angela's direction.
Bring that girl to me.
That was all he said before leaving. A cluster of men dressed in black, clearly his bodyguards, followed him out.
Madame Lucy looked like she was about to faint.
50 million, she gasped, and then fixed her eyes on Angela. Your beauty must be beyond compare, dear.
Angela's pulse raced.
What on earth did that man plan to do with her now that he had spent such a fortune?
Any challenges to 50 million?
Madame Lucy asked, but the men stayed silent, and the older bidder sank into his seat.
Madame Lucy gave a rousing clap. All right, Mr. Hayes will have Miss Angela. A bouncer came up to escort Angela off the stage. Madame Lucy approached with a huge grin.
I'm so happy for you, dear.
Mr. Raphael Hayes is one of our longtime patrons.
He's always come here to drink, but he's never participated in the bidding before until now. And he made an offer of 50 million.
This is truly an amazing night. Angela could barely breathe, still thinking about that enormous sum.
She let herself be led outside, mind buzzing with both awe and dread. No one had dared compete after the bid hit 50 million, probably feeling it was no longer worth it. Outside, they led her to a sleek black car.
One of the men opened the door to the back seat, glancing at Angela impatiently. Get in. Angela turned to Madame Lucy, feeling her heart pound.
Madame Lucy nodded encouragingly and patted Angela's shoulder. Don't worry, Mr. Hayes isn't a bad man.
Angela impulsively hugged Madame Lucy.
The older woman froze in surprise.
Angela managed to smile.
Thank you for everything, Madame Lucy, for taking care of me, she said softly, then got into the car. The door shut behind her. Inside, she instinctively clutched herself the moment she realized she wasn't alone. Sitting on the other side was the man who had purchased her, Raphael Hayes. He gazed at her with a cold, unreadable expression. "Miss Angela," he said, his voice low, "from this moment on, you belong to me."
"You won't be returning to your family." Angela's shoulders tightened.
It didn't surprise her that he intended never to send her home, not for $50 million.
She lowered her head. I understand," she managed.
He narrowed his eyes.
"You really don't care if I hadn't bought you? You'd have been fine never seeing your family again?" Angela fumbled for words.
If that's what the buyer wants, sir." "Why were you in that place to begin with?" he asked quietly.
"You didn't seem like you belonged there." She blinked.
"I just needed the money for my mom's treatment and to pay her debts." Raphael held her gaze for a moment, then motioned to the driver to start the car.
After that, he turned away, saying nothing more.
Angela thought about the contract she'd signed with Madame Lucy, ensuring she'd receive her share of the $50 million. Madame Lucy had promised to send it straight to Angela's mother. That was the real reason Angela had signed up for the auction in the first place.
After a tense silence, Raphael finally spoke.
"You look exactly like her."
Angela stared. "Like who?"
"My dead wife," he said quietly. He turned toward her. "You look exactly like Allison.
That's why I bought you." Angela felt her jaw drop. "You spent $50 million just because I look like your wife?"
"Yes," he frowned.
"You'll be her replacement. You will be the billionaire's replacement wife."
Raphael Hayes brought Angela to his massive estate in an upscale area of New York. His entire family was stunned the moment he introduced Angela, an American woman who looked so much like his deceased wife. Angela sat stiffly on a plush sofa in the grand living room, aware of how the rest of the family glared at her.
"Are you out of your mind, Raphael?"
Olivia Hayes, his mother, scolded him.
$50 million for this girl?
She gripped her son's face between her hands, eyes filled with sympathy.
"Son, you must move on. Allison is gone. Your wife has passed away. You don't have to spend that kind of money for a lookalike.
No one can ever replace her." His younger sister, Rachel Hayes, nodded in agreement.
"Big brother, we know you're still hurting. We all loved Allison too, but this is crazy.
You're not respecting her memory by buying someone who just happens to look like her."
Raphael's jaw clenched.
He glanced at Angela, who couldn't help but look uncomfortable. She had nothing to do with his wife's death. She was only here because he had paid to bring her home. He turned to his mother and sister. "It's my money, and it's for my children," he said coolly.
"Your children?"
Olivia repeated in disbelief.
"Exactly," Raphael replied, ignoring the horrified expression on his sister's face. "Nanny, would you please bring Ariana and Kim here? I want them to meet someone."
"Son," Olivia protested, but Raphael brushed her off and knelt next to Angela. She looked uneasy as he lightly touched her hand.
"I'm introducing you to my children.
If they like you, I'll marry you. If they don't, you can go home, and no, I won't ask for my money back."
Angela's eyes widened. "So, if they don't like me, I can just leave?" He nodded.
"Yes."
She suddenly blurted, "Well, then I hope they don't like me."
Everyone stared at her, stunned. Angela fell silent, biting her lip, realizing how disrespectful that sounded. Moments later, hurried footsteps approached.
2 kids ran into the living room, squealing, "Daddy!"
They leaped into Raphael's arms as Olivia and Rachel stepped aside.
"Dad, you're home," Ariana said, eyes sparkling. "You're not busy anymore."
Raphael cleared his throat.
"I'm here because I want you both to meet your new mommy." Kim's face fell.
"No one can replace our mom, even if she's in heaven now."
Ariana nodded fiercely. "We don't want anyone else." Raphael glanced at Angela.
She had been looking down, feeling awkward, when suddenly both kids noticed her. Ariana's eyes widened, and Kim's mouth dropped open.
"Mommy," Ariana whispered, tears welling up. "It's Mommy."
The 2 children lunged toward Angela and wrapped their arms around her.
Angela froze in shock, looking at Raphael with alarm. He spoke softly. "She looks like your mom." Ariana began to sob. "Why did you leave us, Mommy? We thought you were gone forever." Kim's teary voice joined in. "Please don't leave us again." Unsure of what to do, Angela blinked hard. She felt sorry for these kids. Carefully, she patted their backs. She could hear Olivia sniffling nearby. Apparently, even the older woman was moved. Rachel looked away, not wanting to watch, but it was obvious her emotions were stirred as well. Angela tried to remain composed, thinking about how deeply this family missed Allison. Raphael observed the scene with a distant sadness. He understood his mother's and sister's reaction, they adored his late wife. But he couldn't stop himself from reaching out for any chance to see Allison's face again, even in another woman. As a billionaire who had lost the love of his life, he was willing to try anything for his children's happiness. Angela stood there, arms around the weeping children. It was heartbreaking. She whispered, "I'm not really your no." Ariana insisted, hugging Angela even tighter. "You are our mommy." Kim nodded frantically. "You look just like her." Olivia cleared her throat. "Allison passed away a year ago." "She's gone," she told the children gently. "Angela here just happens to look like her." The children clung to Angela, refusing to let go. Raphael spoke up. "Don't worry, Ariana and Kim. She won't leave you again, I promise." He locked eyes with Angela. "And you're going to marry me, Angela." "That's what comes with the 50 million. Angela let the thought sink in. She had effectively been bought to fill the void left by Allison. She tried to swallow the lump in her throat, telling herself that her mother's medical bills would be paid, her debts gone, her life changed. She could endure this if it meant saving her mother. Later, the emotional scene wound down, and the children were coaxed to bed. They cried, terrified Angela might vanish in the night, but eventually fell asleep. Raphael took Angela to a bedroom. "Why is she staying in Allison's old room?" Olivia demanded. "That's disrespectful, and it's not healthy for anyone." Rachel nodded. "She's not Allison, so why make her stay here?" "Please, brother." Angela shrank back slightly, remembering that this was indeed the room of a deceased woman. The very idea of sleeping where Allison once slept gave her chills. She blurted, "I'm sorry, but yes, I can stay in a different room. This is really weird." Raphael didn't back down. "It's final. Mom, Rachel, don't interfere. I'm marrying her on paper, and I expect everyone to respect my decision." His mother and sister stared in disbelief as Raphael all but slammed the bedroom door in their faces. Angela turned to him. "I get that you bought me, but this is just bizarre. Are you trying to scare me?" His gaze didn't waver. "Make yourself at home here. Make yourself worth the money I paid." She jumped at the sound of the door locking behind him. She was left alone, trembling at the idea she was in Allison's bedroom. Angela paced around, her nerves on edge. She tried to steady her breath. "Ma'am, Miss Allison, please don't haunt me," she muttered under her breath, as if the spirit of the late wife could hear her. "I didn't ask for this. Your husband forced me to stay here." She sank onto the bed, her legs still shaky, imagining that if Allison's spirit were truly watching, she might be furious. Angela was about to lie down when she noticed a framed photograph on the headboard featuring a strikingly beautiful woman who indeed looked so much like Angela. Gasping, Angela jumped up and pressed a hand to her racing heart. "Oh my God, we really do look alike," she said under her breath, moving closer to the photo. The woman in it had fierce eyes and a sharp, serious gaze. It felt like she was staring right at Angela. "Wow, this is like looking in a mirror." In that tense moment, Angela heard a man's voice echoing in her mind, "Allison, I love you so much." She winced, clutching her head. A sudden pain flared behind her eyes, making her stumble. "Ah," she groaned. When her vision cleared, she glanced around the empty room, heart pounding. "Stop scaring yourself," she scolded herself.
Her headaches had plagued her since she'd once hit her head badly, and she never had enough money for proper medical treatment. Her mother had done what she could, but the pain recurred, sometimes causing fainting spells.
Angela forced herself to breathe slowly and calm down.
Spotting a telephone in the room, she picked it up and dialed a number from memory.
Madame Lucy answered right away. "Hello, who's this?" "It's me, Angela," she replied, relieved. "Oh, Angela, how are you? Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Madame Lucy. The man who got me is a bit strange, but anyway, about my 25%, are you going to give it to my mom soon?" "Of course, Angela, don't worry. I'll take care of wiring the money, and I'll make sure she gets medical attention." "I know how much you need this," Madame Lucy promised. Angela felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you so much. And please, don't tell my mom about what really happened, okay? Just say I found a job." "Of course, sweetheart, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll call you once everything is settled with your mother's treatment and the debts." Angela exhaled in relief, thanking her again before hanging up. Early the next morning, she woke from a nightmare, drenched in sweat. She kept seeing the same strange dream of being in a car crash, one so vivid it rattled her every time. She couldn't explain why it felt so real. She headed downstairs to the dining area. Ariana and Kim were already there, eagerly digging into breakfast. Upon seeing Angela, they jumped from their chairs and ran to greet her. "Mommy," they shouted in unison, clinging to her. Angela blushed, fully aware that Olivia and Rachel were both glaring. She carefully greeted them back, noting that even some of the household staff, like the nanny who managed the household, were eyeing her curiously. "Children, let her sit," Olivia said sharply, standing up from the table. "I've lost my appetite." The older woman placed her napkin down and walked off. Rachel crossed her arms. "I also have no appetite." Then she glared at Angela. "Just remember, you're not Allison, and you never will be." Angela lowered her head as Olivia and Rachel strode away. She sighed, then forced a smile, sitting with the kids. "Are you two enjoying breakfast?" Ariana beamed. "Yes, Mommy, eat with us." Angela began to fill her plate. She noticed a delicious-looking dish of shrimp and reached eagerly for one. She had never eaten shrimp before, and it smelled fantastic. But as she was about to place one on her plate, Ariana grabbed her hand in alarm. "Mommy, don't eat that. You're allergic to shrimp," Ariana said urgently. Angela paused. "Allergic? Ivy never, she's not your real mom," Rachel interrupted from across the room, having lingered just a moment longer. Allison was allergic to shrimp, but Angela might not be. "Go ahead, try it." Angela noticed the nanny giving her a worried look, but she shrugged it off. She put a shrimp on her plate and took a bite. "It tastes great," she said, smiling. "I don't feel anything." Rachel sneered. "See? Not the same," she muttered. But a few seconds later, Angela began to cough, her face turning red. "Oh my gosh!" Rachel shrieked. "She is allergic." Ariana and Kim started crying as Angela wheezed, suddenly struggling to breathe. The nanny rushed to her side, pulling some medication from a nearby cabinet and handing it to Angela, who swallowed it with shaking hands. Slowly, her airways cleared, though her heart still hammered. The commotion brought Raphael and Olivia rushing in. "What's going on?" Olivia asked, eyes darting around. "Why are my grandchildren crying?" Rachel turned to them. "She's allergic," she explained, pointing at Angela. Raphael's expression grew intense. "Are you okay?" he asked Angela, going straight to her side. She took a few deep breaths, nodding. "Yes, thanks to the medicine." "She really does have the same allergy," Raphael murmured. Allison had the same reaction. "That's enough." Olivia barked, her voice echoing through the room. "Allison is gone. Don't treat this woman like she's Allison. This nonsense has to stop." Raphael's face hardened, but he said nothing.
Angela realized that, for a moment, he'd been hopeful she was just like his late wife. Olivia's words hit him, and he backed off, helping Angela stand while the nanny comforted the children.
The rest of the day was tense. Raphael left for work, and the children went to school. Angela didn't dare leave the house.
She had no idea what sort of trouble she might stir up if people realized she looked exactly like the deceased Mrs. Hayes. Instead, she stayed indoors, quietly avoiding Olivia and Rachel, who clearly despised her.
2 weeks went by.
Angela found that, despite all the awkwardness, she settled somewhat into this strange new life. She had fine clothes, delicious meals, a luxurious room even if it still unnerved her at times, and the children adored her, showering her with constant affection.
They always demanded to sleep in the same room, clinging to her like she would vanish overnight.
Olivia and Rachel maintained their distance, only speaking to her when absolutely necessary.
During this time, Angela officially signed marriage papers. Raphael insisted on it. She silently understood he was still grieving Allison, possibly seeing Angela as a replacement for his own comfort as well as for his children's.
She was, in effect, a purchased stand-in. One evening, Angela lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to banish all thoughts of ghosts and vengeful spirits. She was finally drifting off when the bedroom door flew open. Raphael stood there, smelling of alcohol, his expression stormy.
She shot up, alarmed. What do you need?"
He shut the door, stepping closer, voice slurring slightly.
"I want to sleep next to you. I miss you."
She realized he was drunk. He stumbled forward, wrapping his arms around her. "Allison," he whispered, "I miss you so much. I still wish you were alive." Angela stiffened, but his shoulders began to shake. He was crying. The sight of a powerful man so broken tugged at her heart, and she hesitantly raised her hand to pat his back. He clung to her like a lifeline, sobbing into her shoulder. She allowed him to hold her. After all, he had paid for the right, and she also pitied him. That night, they ended up lying together in the same bed. Raphael slept heavily, face buried in her hair, tears still staining his cheeks. Angela hardly slept at all, her mind swirling with confusion about how she fit into this family. In the following days, she pretended nothing had happened, and Raphael didn't mention it either. Yet, part of her couldn't help but wonder if his embrace that night held more meaning than he would ever admit. Angela tried to put her focus on the children. Every morning, she helped prepare their breakfast before they left for school. The routine brought her a strange sense of normalcy, as if she truly belonged in this household, though she never forgot the real reason she was here. She was the billionaire's replacement wife. She helped prepare their school uniforms, styled their hair, and packed their lunchboxes. Olivia no longer protested what Angela did, and neither did Rachel, because Angela wasn't causing any trouble. In fact, the children loved her efforts, so Olivia and Rachel just let her continue. Angela was reading a book on the bed when she noticed Raphael at the doorway again. She swallowed hard, worried he might be drunk, even though it was midday.
"Is there something you need?" Angela asked. "May I come in?"
She set aside her book and sat up straight on the bed.
"You're drunk again?" "I'm not," Raphael replied, entering the room anyway. "But I wanted to ask you something. Did I do anything strange the last time I came here drunk?" Angela hesitated. "And no, you didn't." Raphael took a seat next to her on the bed. "All right. I know this sounds crazy, but could I sleep next to you from now on? I sleep better that way." Angela's eyes went wide. Well, you spent $50 million to bring me here, Raphael. You can do whatever you want. I'm not in a position to complain." Raphael sighed. "Angela, come on, you make it sound like I'd threaten you with a gun or something." She grew flustered. "Sorry, I didn't mean it that way." Raphael's gaze softened. "I took you out of that place because you look so much like her, and I miss her so much." Angela felt a twinge of sympathy, though she wasn't sure why. "So, all you want is to sleep by my side? Nothing else?" She needed to be sure. "Yes." She exhaled. "All right, then. We can share the bed tonight."
Even though Angela agreed to let Raphael sleep beside her, she was nervous. This time, he wasn't drunk.
What if his intentions changed?
She silently prayed he really did only want to sleep.